Welcome to Rainbow Soul Vodcast, where our Soulstrology comes forward to help you manage your everyday life, with forecasts and deep dives on natal charts and queer perspectives on the planets, transits, and more. A group discussion about upcoming transits with tips on how to read these transits in your own chart. Hollis offers years of wisdom and natal chart knowledge with Bright Hawk's positive perspective and Lacrosse's inquiry. We offer the complete queer astrology experience. Welcome to Rainbow Soul. Please help us by subscribing, sharing, and commenting and reviewing. You can also learn where else Rainbow Soul is offered on our website at rainbowsoul.show.
Welcome! Welcome, everyone. I'm glad you're here. Welcome. I'm so glad you're here. Welcome to Rainbow Soul Soulstrology Forecast. I am Hollis Taylor. I am one of your astrologers here today. And you can book with me down in the description. If you look, you'll see a link to Divine Androgen. And
that's well worth doing, I can tell you for sure. Getting a reading with Hollis is a great gift to give yourself or anyone else in your life. I'm Bright Hawk. You can always learn more about me at brighthawkproductions.com. I'm an author, and it's a good time to talk about the book because people are wanting to know, what could I give for my creative young person in my life?
That's right.
Well, the dancing hippo is the perfect gift.
Right.
I hope you enjoy it. There's an ebook. If you buy the book, it comes with an ebook which has 5 pieces of original music and sound created by Hollis and my live action character. So yeah, that's great fun.
You get to see me dressed like a hippo.
Yeah, exactly. I'm also an artist and a musician, always happy to support the beautiful meditations that we have on this special podcast, which is how we like to begin.
Well, I'm sorry that we can't have Lacrosse with us right now. We're sort of exploring the idea of going live, but if we go live, it would mean that Lacrosse wouldn't be able to be with us as often, but it would mean that you guys could ask questions live. So I kind of go back and forth about it, okay? So welcome, Barbara. Hi, Barbara. It's great to see you. And Missy, I'm glad you're here. Welcome. And this week, what we're going to be talking about is just like what the forecast of the next week is going to be. Hi, Shauna Lynn. Welcome. I'm glad you're here. And hi, Dawn. It's great to see you. I'm glad you're all tuning in. This is essentially the forecast for the astrology because, like, some people misunderstand this. Let me just say, because in case there's some beginners, you can get your astrology natal chart, which means that I look at your natal chart and interpret that for you. Then there's synastry charts, which is where I take like you and another person and put you two together and tell you about your, what's easy for you and what your challenges are in a relationship. Could be love, could be any kind of relationship, friends, business partners. And then also I do death astrology, which is after someone dies, I look at their astrology chart and I apply everything from medical astrology to death astrology and synastry all in one reading, along with my mediumship. So that's a little bit different. It's a very specialized reading. I'm the only person that does it that I'm aware of. And so it's a very one-of-a-kind reading. You won't get any other reading like that. Hi, Stacy. Welcome. But what we're doing today is we're forecasting the whole week. Okay, so like what happens is, so you don't just get your natal chart reading once. I mean, that you could, and it might, I'm sure it would give you some insight about who you are and what your life was going to be like. But most people that use astrology come back to it at least once a year, if not a couple times a year. And most of us watch a weekly forecast, okay? And the reason you want to watch a weekly forecast is because we're going to tell you sort of what the energetic weather is going to be like for the week. What's this week going to feel like? how's it gonna be, and what's gonna be going on this week, both in our personal lives and a little bit in the world too. I touch on what they call mundane astrology, which is essentially what will the mundane people do. Mundane are people that are not very spiritual. Sort of like saying muggles, right? Shauna Lynn said, "Thank you so much, Bright Hawk. She loves your music." And, so that's what this is about. That's what today is about. It's sort of like a reading for your whole week. And I'll point out things that if you do have your astrology chart, and if you don't, you can go get it for free at astro.com. And I'll tell you how to sort of read the chart. Mm-hmm. Stephanie's like laughing at the whole muggles. I know, isn't that funny? It's actually an astrology term. It is. We use it all the time. It's mundane weird. Astrology. It's for like politics and, what's going on over there in the Ukraine and things like that. So it does affect us more spiritual people, but it's sort of like, what will the muggles do under this energy? Okay, so that's kind of what it is. Right now we're going to take a little meditation. I want to tell you that this week we will be faced with something astrologically we will never be faced with again in our lifetime. Never again. So I'm hoping that you'll take this minute to ground and center with me. Maybe if you can close your eyes. Take a deep breath. We're going to do a little meditation. Just a little meditation to get us ready. And as you take a few deep breaths to allow the energy in your body to release, and you sit still in your seat. Feel your feet on the floor and become grounded and centered in your energy in the here and now. I invite you to walk out among the stars, up in the sky. And as you look up in the night sky and the cool air on this fall night, the air is cool. The sky is dark. And the stars, they seem to go on and on. Some are brighter than others. Some twinkle, while there's a few of them that don't. And as you stare into the sky, some of the constellations highlight themselves just for you. Some of the planets pull themselves out, and the moon seems to glow a little bit brighter. And in that moment, you come to the understanding that in every moment of our lives, we are connected to the stars. The stars are connected to us. The earth is part of the universe. The moon pulls on the gravity of earth. and the planets, the way they move around in the universe, and the way they communicate with us. Well, as above, so below. And like a reflection in the water, what is happening on Earth is reflecting up in the sky. And what is happening in the sky is reflecting down below. And in this wisdom, you come to understand that things don't just happen randomly, that many things are unfolding, that the universe is much bigger than most of us can imagine. And while we might not understand why something is happening, there is no doubt that the universe is unfolding exactly as it should. And we can find some comfort in that even when things seem to go wrong, maybe there's something bigger behind it. A change, a transformation, a new perspective. And as we walk forward, as we continue to walk forward in our vision, we are comforted by the wisdom and the knowledge that are mapped to our lives can be analyzed and understood, and we can come to a deeper understanding of why we are here and why this is happening now. And as you stare down at your feet, you recognize that while your path is carved out for you before you come here on Earth, you do have choices of whether to move forward or go left or right or go around the bend. And as you come back into your body, back into your center, you can be comforted by that wisdom. Wiggle your toes and stretch your fingers. And come back to the here and now and to the present. Open your eyes and be present with us here and now at the Rainbow Soulstrology Forecast. Thank you. Well, thank you so much for that. And all right. Oh, hi, Marung from Oz, or Susie. Hi, welcome. We're glad you're here. And thank you to everyone in the groups, in the mediums group, and in the mystical connections group. We welcome you. We're glad you're here. So, this is this week's forecast, and what I have here is the forecast for the 4th through the 10th, which is next Sunday. Okay, and then hopefully we'll be able to do a broadcast next Monday. Okay. And
or
usually
Sunday, possibly with lacrosse.
yeah, maybe we could do it with lacrosse on Sundays. So we're trying to work with lacrosse to see if we can manage doing lives instead of recordings and releasing them. We do record all of our podcast, but all of these, by the way, and we are on Spotify as well. Just a by the way. Okay.
So this week, if you're in the United States, you know what's going on this week. Tomorrow is the last day of voting, the election day, November 5th. And really, we start off the week really positively with the Grand Trine. And that's, we've talked about trines. They're very positive, flowy energy. They really help us feel blessed by life. And hopefully you practice gratitude in that regard, because a lot of times trines, you don't even know how good you've got it because things just happen.
I'm just laughing because today is a Grand Trine, and I'm like, yeah, not for me. And I don't know, maybe it's because of the opposition.
Yeah, there's a lot of oppositions.
Pluto's down in Capricorn. Now, I don't personally have anything in Capricorn, but you might. So if you're feeling stuck today, you probably have placements in Capricorn or Pluto. I know there's been numerous things I've tried to do today. I was supposed to go to the dentist, but it snowed and I couldn't get there this morning. Then I tried to do some other doctor's appointment type things and I couldn't get any of those done. I mean, there's been like I have a whole list of things that haven't happened today. Like I just couldn't get them done for one reason or another. And so if you've had that frustration, that's actually a lot to do with like Pluto and Mars opposite each other. And I've been thinking about that today because Mars has entered Leo. It's at 0 degrees. So, it's perfectly opposite Pluto. Now, Pluto and Capricorn, I could see that being kind of stubborn. I don't know if I would call Leo stubborn. Um, but I think the opposition can kind of make you feel stuck because Mars is about action, about going next, taking next. It's also and it also runs for conflict. It also means conflict.
Right, because Mars is the god of war. And of course, Pluto, we talk about in terms of transformation. Now, the thing is that Mars and Pluto's considered the higher vibration, the higher frequency of Mars. So Mars, of course, is part of the sort of original astrological stuff, and Pluto, of course, came along much later. And the energy of Pluto is all about transformation, but it's in a fixed sign, a cardinal sign in Capricorn. It's in its last little bit of being in Capricorn. It's been in Capricorn for 20 years. We will never see Mars in Leo and Pluto in Capricorn opposed each other again in this configuration in our lifetimes.
Never in our lifetimes will we experience this. This is the last.
Now, let's see, what are we at? 2946.
I think what's really interesting about it though is that because
it goes from Pluto.
Yeah, but Mars is going to go backwards and everything. Yeah. So this is going to be going on for a while. Like Mars will move past it and then come back to it and then go over it again. The thing is that the interesting part about this is where Pluto is kind of a big deal because it would affect the United States politics. Because, well, the United States Pluto, of course, the United States is like 240 something years old or whatever, but Pluto for the United States, like sort of birth chart or its natal chart is at 27 degrees, Capricorn, which is just 2 degrees away from Pluto. And Pluto has been talking to Americans for quite some time now, in case you haven't noticed. Um, Usually through our politics and usually through a way of saying, hello, do you really want your government to run like this? Are you serious about this? Like, is this really what you want? And that's really what Pluto is about. Pluto is also about death and transformation. So if you've had a lot of deaths in your life recently, Pluto might be in some sort of aspect. I notice when people experience a lot of death in their life, like, people are passing away in their life, a lot of times Pluto is at play. People, a lot of times, sometimes even
Pluto can
widows, it will be in their seventh house or their fifth house.
Oh, wow.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Pluto represents death, not just death, real death, like somebody died, but it also represents the end of a cycle.
Mm-hmm.
One way or another, things have transformed. They are not what they were. So when it does move later in the month out of Capricorn and into Aquarius, into a sign that is what's for the greatest good, Aquarius is very uh, focused. It'll be very interesting. It'll
Well,
be
I think
very,
it will
very
be a little bit of
interesting.
a relief
Yeah,
because at least it will be a less about politics. But
right.
right now, with Pluto in opposition to Mars and the conversation that they will be having for the next few months over the winter and into the spring will be challenging regarding conflicts, violence, getting things going. And Mars is kind of a weird transit planet. It kind of like messes with you and then stops, and then messes with you and then stops, and then and I think it's because it moves so fast and that it needs to be in a close degree to certain planets in your chart.
Mm.
So if you have anything in early degree Leo or late degree Cancer, and you can know this just by looking at your chart, and you can see in this chart there looks like to be like a red circle with a arrow on it, and that's the male symbol, right? And that's Mars. And if you follow the red line that's attached to it in the beginning, all the way across, that's Pluto. And you can see that Mars is next to another symbol, which is Leo. And so Mars is in Leo at 0 degrees, okay? And Cancer is that blue one that kind of looks like a 69. Um, and it's blue, right? And so it just came out of Cancer into Leo. So when it moves out of one sign and into another sign, it's challenging. And when it's in a conversation, oppositions tend to be challenging. They tend to be hard to manage. The other opposition we have going on right now is Jupiter in Gemini. Oppositions tend to be challenging. So that's that. See those red lines that go like all the way across the circle? That means two planets are opposite in the sky from each other, okay? And so Jupiter is in Gemini. That's the number 4 looking thing over there. That's kind of gray and it's in number 4. It looks like a number 4, but it's in the Roman numeral number 2, which symbolizes Gemini.
The
And
twins.
Right, and if you follow the line across, it's the moon and Venus are kind of together. You can see that female symbol and you can see that symbol that kind of looks like a moon, and they're both in Sagittarius, which is actually really good. I think Venus and Sag is good, and I'm glad that the opposition is almost over because Venus and Sag is like, it's very woman power. It's feminist. It's strong. It's gonna do what's right. Typically, Sagittarius is not exactly righteous like Virgo, but they tend to be just, okay? So Venus in Sag, when that energy is happening, tends to be just, like the right thing is supposed to happen. And when Jupiter over there, you can see that it's got a red number next to it, number 20. That means it's retrograde. That means it's going backwards in the sky. If we're looking at it from planet Earth, it looks like it's going backwards. It's not really going backwards, but it looks like it is. And we call that retrograde. And when Jupiter is retrograde in Gemini, it usually means it's trying to right the wrongs. So that could be good news for politics, okay?
Right.
Because
So let's talk about the Grand Trine and fire. So Mercury is now in part of the Sag party, and that's Mercury in Sag is actually in detriment, but what it also means is that you overcome, you become better because it's, whatever the weak muscle is, you're going to work on it and you're going to make it better.
it's a challenge, yeah.
Right. I know all about this because I have Mercury in Sag. So the Grand Trine is that Mercury in fire sign Sag, Mars in fire sign Leo, and the base of it is
the North Node in Aries.
the North Node and Chiron. It moves on both of them in Aries. And so fire, as we know, is about taking action. I think we all feel the intensity of this week. It's not surprising to me that it's fiery, but it's great that you listen to this broadcast because you're going to love what I have to tell you about tomorrow on election day and the moon. But when we talk about the moon in Sagittarius, we of course had a new moon last week on, I think it was Friday. So when the moon is in Sag, and it's a waxing moon, obviously, it's a crescent moon, it's going to be, it sparkles in Sagittarius. The moon likes Sagittarius. There's a warmth, there's a sparkle, there's integrity, there's taking care of people, good things like that, right? And so, of course, the moon in Sagittarius is going to answer to Jupiter. And Jupiter, of course, is across the sky, directly opposite. And Venus, of course, it's when the moon is conjunct like that closely with Venus, those flavors become stronger. So we know that the moon is all about our emotional body, right? And emotion mixed with Venus, which is all about love and relationships. So it could be a beautiful day that way. And then it's opposite Jupiter. Jupiter asking Jupiter always asks, what do you really want? And wants to make things bigger for you. So it's really and because Jupiter is the ruler of Sagittarius, and Sagittarians are often known for the good time people, let's have fun. Jupiter likes that vibe, right? But Jupiter is still retrograde, so there's some reflectiveness about that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So I think that the energy today explains it with that blocked energy. Maybe some people have had a better day if they don't have strong Leo or Capricorn placements. Um, it depends on what your chart looks like, but if you've been feeling blocked today, or like things are hard, like you can't get stuff done, like you just keep running into roadblocks, that's the astrology. And tomorrow, which is election day in the United States, which should matter to most of you.
Can I
Yeah,
start?
go for it.
I'm going to start with the bottom line there, the void moon. So the moon, as we've been talking about, if you've been listening to our podcast, when the moon is at the end of a sign and there's no more what's called Ptolemaic aspects, it goes into a void period just before it changes signs. And that void period is when the moon has no energy. So it's not a time to be, active and trying to launch something or do something proactive. It's a time to take a breath. Just, okay, it's quieter time. So I am fascinated every month by how often the void moon, often 15 minutes, half hour, what have you. And then every couple of weeks, there'll be this almost all day void of course moon, which means there's less drama because there's no energy for drama. And I think that's freaking beautiful.
For the election day, yeah.
Mountain time from like almost 10:30 in the morning till almost 3:30 in the afternoon.
Mountain time.
Mountain time. I'm just going to repeat that.
So that's 12 to 5 on the East Coast of the United States.
Just for where you are, there's this really big, gorgeous, no drama. Now, what I have noticed, because I'm studying the void of course moons, is that when they do come back online, be mindful.
Yeah.
Because I notice, especially when it's this kind of timing, then 4 o'clock comes and you're starting to notice like, and then the 5 o'clock and all that, all that tension that happens at the end of the day without anyone doing anything or saying anything. That sort of mass humanity work cycle, whatever. So do take this into account. Do let me know how it works for you. I hope
Yeah.
it does.
Were you able to like go vote or do
And
whatever you had to do without any drama?
right, I really hope so. And blessings to one and all in that regard. And
I wish I could have my
safety.
dentist appointment tomorrow.
I know, right? So that was my big, oh my goodness, isn't that perfect?
Right?
The Mars and Pluto thing makes everyone nervous. All
Oh.
astrologers around the world have been talking about this
And
particular
let me
thing
just
this
say,
month.
when this transit first began a few weeks ago,
Mm.
that's when we seen the whatchamacallits in the news, the North Korea joined Russia.
Oh, when we had the Grand Cross last month, right?
Yeah. And then
Yeah.
ever since then, Mars has slowly been sort of marching closer and closer to Pluto.
Mm.
And I think what worries people is that Mars is very conflict, violence oriented, and Pluto is on the world stage. It's in a degree that makes it sort of on the world stage. So it makes everyone a little anxious about what's going on. And of course, if you look at the news, that would make you anxious all by itself without knowing the astrology.
Right.
But knowing the astrology, you can maybe take from the meditation that we did that that maybe this is supposed to happen. Maybe, no doubt, the universe is unfolding exactly as it should. So I do find some comfort in that. I am feeling pretty good about that Venus in Sagittarius. I feel like women are going to be strong voters. If you've been suspicious of that, you are absolutely right. It has been something I've been looking at, which of course would go for a more liberal side. And of course, I'm liberal. I'm gay. So, look at all the rainbows. Um, so,
As if we had to explain.
sometimes you do. I think it's weird that people are like, "You're liberal." I'm like, "Yeah, I'm gay." So Tuesday, you still have the Grand Trine. Again, it's gonna depend on where things are placed. Um,
The other
for
thing,
you, like where your chart is.
I want you to talk to is the Venus in conjunct Uranus and the Moon in conjunct Mars. So you almost have a yod, but not quite. And in conjuncts, just for those who don't remember, or it's a weird term, it's not a conjunction, it's an in conjunction, which means if you were looking across the circle, that's 180 degrees, right? Move over one to 150 degrees. That's what an inconjunct is.
That's that little dotted line there you can see from
And
this blue one down in the lower right corner, I guess if the side is right. But it's sort of that blue looking symbol down there that has the number red 25, and then if you follow it, there's a little dotted line that goes up to Venus, which is the female signal. And then if you look right next to Venus, there's the moon, and it has a dotted line going over to Mars, which is of course the male symbol.
right.
Yeah, so in conjunct is it's not as hard as an opposition. So if you have an opposition, then you have to try to find a balance, and sometimes there's still no solution. So a lot of times oppositions show up in charts when people pass, actually, interestingly. I mean, I'm just saying that not every time there's an opposition is someone going to pass. Like, that's not what I'm saying. I'm just saying that oftentimes oppositions are dominant in someone's chart when they pass. Okay? Um, and with the transits at the time, because I look at their birth chart and their death chart. So that's sort of unresolvable, right? There's no nothing that's going to change this. This is the way it's going to happen. And that's part of how I know it's sort of destined. And so Uranus is in conjunct Venus and Mars is in conjunct, but in conjunct is slightly one step down from opposition.
Right.
So there's a little bit, there could be an answer, but it's probably going to require some balance and maybe some problem solving. It's probably not going to be easy. It's probably going to be difficult. It will be hard to resolve. So this is, of course, election day, and there might be some things hidden because Uranus is retrograde. Uranus is about your life path and which way we're going. So we're probably going to feel like, with all this opposition and inconjunct and the squares and Neptune retrograde, it makes me feel like everything's going to be hidden.
I agree.
Because of all the retrograde.
Yeah, and the moon is about as afflicted as it could be.
Right.
So what do we mean by that? So the moon rules Cancer, and Cancer is on the opposite side of Capricorn.
Interestingly, Cancer rules patriotism.
Cancer rules patriotism because it's all about the home, being proud of your home.
Mm-hmm.
Right, that would make sense.
Mm-hmm.
Fascinating. So since the moon rules Cancer, Capricorn is as far away from home as you can be. Okay, so that's first thing. Second thing, of course, is it's void all day, which means it has like no energy. So you're not going to have a lot of energy on Tuesday. I wouldn't recommend readings. It doesn't, there's not a lot of energy for square Neptune and the nodes.
If you do a reading, if you do want a reading, you probably want to have it before 10:30 in the morning Mountain Time or in the evening. In the evening would probably be good.
Yeah, it would be better.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So of course, when the moon is in Capricorn, Capricorn is ruled by Saturn, and so it answers to Saturn when it's in Capricorn. And Saturn is in Pisces, and it's there's no real aspect to it in this chart from what I can see. But yeah, there's not a lot of emotional energy.
So
it's very depressed emotional energy is what I would say.
The moon's not, see how it has all red lines pointing to it? Mm-hmm. That's sort of, and it's also in a hard position in Capricorn. So then we would call that afflicted. It means it's not doing really well. And the moon tends to rule intuition. So, you know what? If you're trying to get an intuitive reading today, it could go on Tuesday, it could go wrong. You might want to try to do it on Wednesday or a different day. And I usually, like yesterday, today would be okay, except some readers might have that Mars, right, that opposition. But it would have been okay because the moon was in Sag. And then if you go to Tuesday, it's probably, it's going to be hard to get a reading on Tuesday, except for maybe in the evening it would be a little bit better.
Yeah, especially for lunar focused people.
Yeah, especially for intuitive readers.
Yeah.
And even for mediums, which are based in Pluto, because Pluto's opposite Mars, so it's going to feel like we can't. Right now, I can just say that about Psychic Insights, the psychic service I have like 4 mediums. One is out because she had a death in the family. Another one is out because she just has had sort of one problem after another. And then me, I was supposed to have a doctor's appointment today that didn't pan out. And another person just is having a hard time getting out there. So this is what I mean. Like, mediums are having, so there you go. It's kind of just not the time to get a reading. And Neptune, maybe. Neptune, if you're a pure Neptune-based psychic, maybe.
Yeah, that was what I was saying too. Exactly.
Right. It's in a trine to Mars. It's in a square to the moon. So hopefully they don't depend on their intuition.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
So a lot of people work on both.
Yeah.
And I, I mean, just the very next day, if you go to Wednesday, that's a better day to get a reading. Um, and assuming the reader's available. And then, of course, I do like that Venus is moving further away from the opposition to Jupiter. And I feel that that's good. I feel like I like that Venus in Sag. And then, of course, it's also, although Venus is in a square to Neptune, which for mundane astrology, that makes me think about the news, fake news. Things are, and Neptune's been in retrograde for some time, and so there's probably going to be like Russians creating fake news and stuff like that.
No
So,
doubt.
so just don't believe anything you see, don't believe anything you hear. Maybe just like stay plugged in with spiritual people or something. I wouldn't. Um, you could connect as a psychic with people because Neptune's in a sextile to Pluto, so that's really good as a medium reading. It's also in a trine to Mars, and the Moon is pretty well aspected. It's only in one square, which is to Chiron, but it's in a sextile to the Sun
Yeah.
and in a sextile to Saturn.
Exactly.
So I feel like that's
the
going to
ruler
make
of
it.
Capricorn. So it
Yeah.
starts to really come round again. The moon's energy.
And it's not void.
Right. Yeah. Exactly. It's come out. It's rolling for sure in Capricorn, and great. To be in a sextile with the ruler of the sign. That's really positive. Hopefully things are very practical at that point. Capricorn is a practical sign, get work done. Saturn, of course, is that fatherly figure that's the taskmaster, right? So if the moon is in Capricorn, it's a great time to, get things done.
Yeah, and I feel like as you're going through Wednesday, it will feel much better than it did. Tuesday will feel low energy.
Yeah.
Wednesday will feel better.
Yeah.
But still, as far as the election goes, things are gonna still be pretty hidden. I think that they're on this day, on Thursday, I would be a little concerned about the moon conjunct Pluto. I would be concerned about any kind of conflicts or fight backs or anything like that could become a problem. And with Venus, and thank goodness Venus is moving along there in Sag, but it is coming into a square with Neptune, which is still retrograde, which means fake news. And Venus, of course, is like female power. It's also about the things we love coming forth in your regular life, in your good, in your life. Venus can represent as relationships and money, and it's in Sagittarius, and it's opposite Jupiter, so you might feel like some money constraints or anything like that. And with Pluto in late degree Capricorn, if you have any placements, you could have some money constraints. Money could feel really troubling at this time. For some people, just because of Venus opposite Jupiter. I don't think it's going to last very long, but it might feel unending to you, but it's not. It will end here soon. It's mostly just this week, I think. So, but because of Capricorn rules like work and money. And then with Neptune and Pisces, just be careful what you believe, okay? Like just
check sources.
Just don't believe stuff. Like stuff comes on the news or you see something on Twitter or X or whatever the hell it's called, or YouTube or something. Just check, because it's probably not true. Okay, especially if it feels like, oh my gosh, like that's what your reaction is. I would check.
For sure. For sure.
And so I can see the void moon on this day is like a couple of minutes, right?
It's like 20 minutes, end of the day, right before bedtime for most of us, between 10:30 and 11. So
Thursday is pretty good, but again, there's a lot hidden in that's the biggest thing as I see is some things are hidden, and there is a grand trine which I'm sorry, a minor trine and a grand trine, which is great. But I really do think that things are trying to manifest for us in a good way, but it could just take a little bit of time. Things could be hidden from us in the time. Um, on Friday, oh, things might become a little bit more difficult. Okay. And it could be because of the BS that was released earlier in the week, the lies. Just be really careful. I don't know if you guys have ever like looked around sometimes. Um, that sometimes sometimes there's things that just kind of when you look at the news and stuff, you can clearly see the lies. Okay. Hi there. Thanks, Makwa, for giving. She said, good luck to American friends tomorrow. We see you.
Ah,
She's from Canada, so thank you very much, Makwa. And thanks. Hi, Christian Robinson. Great to see you. And hi, April Marie. Um, and just so we're just reaching out to everybody. Thanks for tuning in today. And Friday is energetically for you on Friday. Things might get a little bit more difficult if you haven't already had difficulties. I mean, there are some inconjuncts and some energy that might create a little bit of conflict, but not completely yet. I don't think that happens until next week.
so let's talk about Uranus for a second, because
Yeah.
now the sun is opposite Uranus,
Mm-hmm.
and Uranus has been part of that minor grand trine we've had all month, which is Uranus, Pluto, and Neptune, which is be mindful of delusion and craziness. Uranus. Uranus is known as the revolutionary, the one who can walk in the room and knock off all the game pieces, as Christopher Renstrom would say, and there's no going back, because nobody like memorized where the game board was. It's like over. Uranus is the proverbial rip the rug out from under you kind of thing.
But it
It's
also
serious change.
But it does it to make you put you on your path.
Right. So sometimes, hope I don't offend anyone, it's sort of a slap from the universe of, that way, go that way, get back on the road, go that way.
Yes. So Uranus might sometimes it's usually surprising, it's usually out of nowhere, and it's opposite the sun in Scorpio, which is the way we're going. The sun tends to like shine the light, and so the sun across from Uranus could create an experience where something suddenly happens on Friday. It will be very out of nowhere. um I
Be
don't
really
think
careful if you're traveling.
Yeah, I would just be mindful of like going in public places and being in public places. I would just be careful of that. That's really what's important, I think.
Yeah.
So, and then as we go on into the weekend, oops. Saturday, I think the biggest thing on Saturday is it's really going to pull on that sun in Scorpio. So there could be some like protests or something like that, because sun in Scorpio always makes me think of protests for some reason. But I think it's because Scorpio is like, I am not going to stand for this. And if you corner Scorpio, you'll regret it. Okay. So, Scorpio will come out fighting. And that's the thing about Scorpio, and it's opposite Uranus. So I feel like it could be a surprise. And with the Yod pointing at the sun, that would make sense. But that also means that there could be some transformation, some change, some realizations, because that's Scorpio. Okay, so Scorpio is about transformation and change and is likely to push you in a direction that is better. So for your life, you might experience some change Friday and Saturday, or some realizations of which direction you should be going. And for the world, like the mundane world, like politics and stuff, I would say that something could happen on Friday, Saturday. If something, like if we were going to say when is the violence going to, if violence was meant to happen, when would it happen this week? It would probably be Friday. Okay? Friday, Saturday. Okay? Um, if it happens, it may not happen at all. Because remember, free will is always at play. And Sunday, we still continue with that yod pointing at the sun up there in Scorpio, which I told you about. Scorpio energy is sometimes mysterious. So there might be some mystery about whatever happens. Like something could go down and we might have to like figure it out. The sun in Scorpio though is a detective and will usually get to the bottom of just about anything. And with Venus in Sag, I feel like that's good energy for women, and but it's in
Yeah.
conjunct Uranus, so I just feel like there might be some blockages for this election to really come out and to really proceed forward. So if you're expecting to hear like the election results on the next morning,
I doubt it.
I don't think so.
Almost
And
everyone I've heard says I doubt it.
that's not going to happen. You'll be lucky to get it next week, okay? Like I think we're going to be in this like election headache for like another week, okay? Um
My favorite meme this morning was it's as if the entire United States is waiting for biopsy results.
oh my gosh.
It's that kind of like, oh.
Yeah, so you're probably not going to get an answer this week. And if you
Uh,
do, there will probably be lots of like fighting about whatever. It doesn't matter who wins as far as that goes. Whoever wins, there will be fighting from either side. Okay, and that's probably what's going to happen. And then but in your personal life, it's also going to mean that there could be some things that you try to resolve this week they don't resolve. Like you still don't find the answer. I still don't find the hormone doctor that I need, or I still don't I still don't get scheduled for gallbladder surgery. Okay, like those kinds of things. Like if you're trying to get something done, you might feel a lot of resistance this week. Okay, especially if you have placements in Capricorn or Leo or Cancer, because I feel like Pluto's opposite of whatever you got in Cancer, and
yeah.
Mars is moving up into Leo. It's going to stop in just a couple of days and turn around and come back. So, uh,
Yeah, and I also believe we're starting to enter the shadow phase of Mercury
that's
before
right.
it goes retrograde
So
as well.
Mercury will go retrograde. I think it's actually
We'll
in the
talk
end of
about that
November.
later.
But
There's enough on the plate
we'll
right
talk
now.
about that later. Yeah, but Mercury will go
Yeah.
retrograde if you're planning anything. You may want to avoid any kind of if you want to sign a contract, do it now.
Mm,
If you want to make any commitments, do it now. Don't wait till the end of the month. If you wait till the end of the month,
not a great
you'll
idea.
probably have to re-sign or things will change or it won't go through or it won't work out or something.
Yeah.
So and as far as Mercury retrograde, you also want to like fix anything that like if your car, you're like, "Oh man, the fan belt keeps making noise." Go ahead and get that fixed now. Go ahead and get a new battery. Get whatever you need for
Anything
your
related to your
car,
communications, transportation,
your
you know,
computer, anything like that. Anything that has to do with communication or transportation, okay? So you want to go ahead and get that taken care of now because that will be kind of going cuckoo at the end of the month in a week or so, okay? So,
yeah.
yeah, and if you need to take action about something, you need to move forward, do it now before Mars turns around and goes backwards because you think
You
it's tough.
absolutely want to take advantage of Mars being forward. A
Because
quick word about Mars retrograde because I learned such powerful lessons when it spent 6 months in retrograde several years ago, like 4 years ago. Mars retrograde is really potent, very intense. You do not want to initiate anything of any kind of aggressive, any kind of conflict, any kind of legal matter, any kind of you have to do this kind of thing because it has a boomerang effect when Mars is in retrograde. So that scares the hell out of me when you're trying to do the right thing and put the right foot forward and da 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 da. And if you're doing it during a Mars retrograde, just freaking wait. Because when you say to yourself, what's the worst thing that could happen? That could happen.
Yeah.
So this is part of why we feel astrology is such a vital part of our week, because it helps you know when to set sail and, when not to, right? There's lots of metaphors you could have about the weather, about, and that's a good one. Astrological weather, knowing whether to, bring an umbrella or have your sunglasses. Those are radically different things. So thank you so much for trusting us and listening to us and having a curiosity about astrology, because we really love sharing it with you, and we really hope that it makes your week easier and more understandable. And please let us know how it goes for you in the comments, because that's always fascinating.
Yeah, and if you're feeling a little stuck today, just give it another day or two, and hopefully it'll pass by the end of the week. It could go on for the week, depending on when your placements in your chart. And if it does, that's okay. Just recognize that maybe, like today when I was looking for a certain type of doctor, I was like, maybe the universe wants me to do something different. And that's Pluto, okay? And that's Pluto in Capricorn. It's like, maybe there's something I'm supposed to do that's different. Hi Hannah, you're feeling overwhelmed right now. I bet you are. I'm sorry. Yeah, see, so Hannah, it's the I think you have Capricorn or Leo placements. Mars is in Leo and it's opposite Capricorn, so that's pretty much what's going on. So I'm sorry that you're feeling that way, but just know it's in the stars. And
the good thing to know is that this too shall pass.
Yep. And I can okay, Hannah. Well, Mars just entered Leo, so okay, so I bet you are feeling overwhelmed. Mars can kind of feel overwhelming sometimes.
Yeah.
And I can and will move forward. If you're learning astrology, we have a great 101 class that we've taught that is recorded, and what you do is you pay for it at the website divineandrogen.com, and then you just watch the videos, and we break everything down for you, Brighthawk and I. And then it also comes with coaching, where you can like sort of write down your questions, and you have 2 separate coaching sessions,
which is really fabulous.
Which is great, because then you can come and ask me direct questions about your chart or about whatever came up when you were watching the classes. And so you can book that directly at divineandrogen.com. You can order it. Just go to the digital store, because it's a download. So it's a class. It's basically Astrology 101. It will show you all the basic planets and help you understand planets and the zodiac and things like that. It will help you read your own chart. That's how we approach it. We approach it where you're learning to read your own chart. And you can go to Google and see there are people that have written reviews that took the class. I have references for people that went into it totally clueless about astrology and came out on the other side like, wow, I feel like I actually know something. And I can listen to, and they often say that now they can listen to our broadcast, Rainbow Soul, and it makes so much more sense now. So I'm like, okay. And so that's really what the class is about. The class is about really just learning the basics so you can read your own chart, and so that you can listen to any forecast, not just from us, but from other astrologers as well, and know what they're talking about. It's basic astrology, okay?
So, do the cards, we're going to get a reading?
Yeah, so I'm going to pull 3 tarot cards of the Love is Love deck. This is a LGBTQ deck that anyone can get. And so the first card here is the Wheel of Fortune.
Oh, wow.
And, this card is an interesting card in this deck because, first of all, so it has like this disco ball game board in the middle. And then each corner has a different aspect. Like, up here we have sort of like crowd control and people having a good time but enjoying each other. And then this is kind of sexual, but it's, it's like a dancer or a stripper. But then down here in the bottom, you have like a building on fire.
Oh, wow.
And you have bottles crashing. But what does the Wheel of Fortune card usually mean? It usually means that, that things are fortunate. But I think it also is a reminder that things are in a cycle, that things sometimes go wrong and sometimes things go well. And I think all we can do as human beings is ride that roller coaster. And that's an interesting concept and that I'm always talking about when I talk about the other side and spirits on the other side, because spirits on the other side mostly just experience love, and they don't experience this. They don't experience this cycle. See the arrows on that circle? It's about how things cycle and they go round and round. And spirits on the other side sometimes say, I want to be alive again. And even as hard as our lives are, we do choose this life. Even if you say, I hate this life and I'll never do it again. I've had people say that. And I'm sorry that it feels that way to you now. And it has felt to me that way in the past. But what you realize is that spirits on the other side are choosing to be reborn again and again for a reason, because it gets dull when things are always the same. If things are always good, if everyone was alive all the time and there was never death, guess what? Life would be meaningless. If everything was good all of the time and nothing ever went wrong, those things would mean nothing. Love would mean nothing without hate. Okay? Life would mean nothing without death. Happiness would mean nothing without sadness. So always try to remember that, and I think that's what this card is about. It's about the cycles of life. It's about the good times and the bad times. Okay? And how we cycle through those things. And then in the here and now, this is very much about displaying our work and bringing our work out into the world. And so you can see this person is sort of drawing pentacles, which in tarot, they usually mean resources. So this is about using the money we have, or using the resources we have to create finances in our life or whatever. And that's really what this 8 of Pentacles is about. It's about the work you do in the world, presenting it to the world, and the money that you get. And that's in the here and now. And then going forward is the Knight of Pentacles. And this is a beautiful card because this is all about strength and also being out of the box. Because if you didn't know, seahorses, the fathers raise the babies. So the mother, she produces a viable egg and gives it off to the male seahorse. It's a beautiful thing, actually. Seahorses are really interesting creatures when you get to know them. And so knowing that seahorses are out of the box, and that this seahorse represents trans men, so that's very much about gentle masculinity, mothering masculinity, nurturing masculinity, sacred masculinity. That's what this card is about. And being the Knight of Pentacles, it is about resources. And so it tells me that we have strength going forward. This card is very much about strength going forward. So to review, the universe is reminding us that life is a cycle. Good things happen, bad things happen, and always for a reason. The universe is not torturing you for the fun of it. I'm just gonna say. Bad things don't happen for no reason, okay? There's always a reason. And then as we go forward, this is very much about the 8 of Pentacles. This is about displaying our resources and using our resources in the world. I know that's going on for most of us now. Maybe if you're working hard, I know that I've been doing all kinds of things to try to get more of my work out there in the world. And then going forward, this is the King of Pentacles. This is the Knight of Pentacles, which is very much okay. Apparently my computer likes it. Thumbs up there. Okay, so this is the Pentacles, and this is very much about having the strength and the fortitude to go forward, and the knowing we're doing the right thing, and the sacred masculine. So my friends, whatever's going on in your life, I hope those cards can try to make sense for you. And going forward.
Yeah, good reading. Wow.
Thanks.
Let us know how it's going for you, and it's great when you share it and like it, and please subscribe, and we hope you have a great week.
Yeah.
Thanks for listening to us and joining us for this time. And thanks for listening to Rainbow Soulstrology, where we try to be a bridge between you and the stars. Have a great week, folks.
Bye-bye.
Thank you for listening to this week's Soulstrology and subscribing, liking, sharing, and reviewing. We hope you enjoy this dose of Soulstrology and encourage you to embrace the week ahead with an open mind and heart so that you may integrate the deepest of lessons from the stars. Take a moment to step outside and honor the planets, stars, and moon in the sky with your heart. Integrate the messages that resonate and leave the rest for someone else. We deeply appreciate each and every one of you. Always remember that you are a perfectly unique human with an exclusive star map of your destiny, your soul purpose, and your heart's desire. Thank you again for tuning in to Rainbow Soul.